Back when the sect was on the verge of being completely wiped out, a woman went through some serious struggles just to find the founding patriarch, who had been in seclusion for 100,000 years. When the patriarch heard that the organization he built with his own hands was nearly destroyed by some third-rate group, he was furious. He tossed a little lamb at the woman and ordered the creature to help her clear out all the enemies. Who would have guessed that? This ordinary-looking little lamb was actually a King Realm beast. It managed to defeat half the enemy forces with just a single sneeze. But here's the kicker. This beast was actually the weakest one among thousands under the patriarch's command. It turns out the patriarch originally came to this fantasy world with a special system. With its guidance, he quickly established his own dynasty and spread his influence across the entire continent. With the system's help, his power level kept skyrocketing, and he soon became the strongest person around. Wanting to get even stronger, he decided to move to a higher-level continent to start a new branch. But right before he left, his system panel crashed. The patriarch got stuck in his current world and lost the chance to break through his cultivation level again. He figured that since he couldn't level up, there must be people out there stronger than him, which made him feel incredibly insecure. He was terrified that if he wasn't the absolute best, he couldn't just relax and be lazy. So, he spent every day worrying that powerful enemies from other lands would come to finish him off. Even though the system reminded him countless times that he was basically invincible, he still decided to go into hiding in the most dangerous and remote place possible, the realm of high risk. He stayed there for 100,000 years. Fast forward to the present, with the sect's survival on the line, Luo Qinchen was chosen as the new leader. Before the old leader passed away, he told young Luo that the patriarch had left behind a special token before going into seclusion. He explained that if the sect ever faced a major crisis, she should take this token to find the patriarch, and she had to find him before their defensive barrier was broken. Luo Qinchen didn't waste a second and immediately headed for the realm of high risk. The journey was so tough that she started wondering if the patriarch was even still alive after 10,000 years. Just as she was starting to lose hope, a massive chicken suddenly landed right in front of her. Luo Qinchen looked closer and realized it was actually the terrifying purple netherworld sparrow. Facing such a high-level monster, she knew that even if her whole sect came to help, they wouldn't survive. She collapsed, feeling totally hopeless, thinking that the fate of her sect had come to an end and feeling guilty for failing her mission. But then, something unexpected happened. The sparrow flapped its wings, picked her up, and carried her on its back, flying toward the deepest part of the secret realm. Luo Qinchen was stunned, wondering if she was dreaming because a monster like this usually wouldn't let a human ride it. Before she could snap out of it, the bird landed at a palace, put her down, and bowed respectfully, announcing that the mission was complete. A white-haired man slowly walked out of the palace and told the bird to step back. Luo Qinchen was shocked, wondering who this guy was that could make such a powerful monster bow to him. She quickly bowed to show respect. While she was still dazed, the life-saving token floated up from her chest and flew straight to the man. Seeing this, Luo Qinchen panicked and asked why he was taking her sex token. The man coldly replied that the item had always belonged to Patriarch Chen Xuan, so he wasn't stealing anything. Luo Qinchen couldn't believe it. She realized he was the founder of her sect. She immediately started pleading desperately for him to come out and save them. Once he understood the situation, his expression changed. He was frustrated that his prestigious sect was ruined by some weakling just 100,000 years later. He felt insulted that the power he built had fallen so low. He decided he would go and wipe out the enemies with a single strike. Just then, a digital box popped up in front of him. The system had rebooted and gave him a new mission: pass 6 trials before moving to the next continent. The patriarch was shocked because the system had finally returned after all this time. The first trial was to rescue the sect, but there was a catch. He wasn't allowed to take direct action himself. He tearfully accepted the task, happy that he could finally continue his journey to a new world. He grabbed Luo Qinchen's hands with a sly smile and told her that even though he was strong, she would have to be the one to strengthen the sect. He explained that they had to handle the sect's issues themselves. He figured that while the system stopped him from fighting directly, he could still help her gear up. He asked if the enemy had special battle armor, then told her to follow him to pick out some clothes. With a snap of his fingers, they were transported to a different space. The patriarch showed her 4 sets of elemental battle garbs: wind, fire, water, and earth. Luo Qinchen was amazed. She realized that what he called clothes were actually legendary battle garbs. Any single one of them could easily overpower the enemy's gear. She pointed at the fire element one, saying she wanted that, but the patriarch suddenly kicked the armor, smashing all 4 sets to pieces. He complained that they were too ugly and demanded a new batch that looked stylish enough for a fashion week. Next, a purple set caught Luo Qinchen's eye. It was the pre-heavenly poison armor, legendary for its power. She started imagining how cool she would look in it. She told the patriarch she wanted that one, but he slapped it into pieces too, saying that girls shouldn't wear anything too rebellious. He then rejected a thunder set for being too colorful and a star set for having a tacky name. He even turned down an immortal set because his dog didn't like it. With every piece of treasure he destroyed, Luo Qinshan felt like she was losing her mind. She wondered if he was helping her pick clothes or just destroying valuable items. She grabbed his leg and begged him to stop destroying them, asking to just take the current one. The patriarch looked at the crimson-colored armor in his hand, identifying it as the sun god battle garb. He explained that if she fused with it perfectly, she would be safe as long as there was fire nearby. Since she had a fire attribute, he said it was destiny. With his help, she quickly fused with the armor. Now she felt ready to deal with the enemy sect. She prepared to leave to save her people, but the patriarch stopped her, saying there was something important she had to do first. She looked eager, expecting a weapon or a plan. Instead, the patriarch asked her seriously if she knew how to cook. Luo Qinshan was stunned. He asked her to put on a maid outfit and cook a full meal. She felt shy and worried about the time, but the patriarch didn't care. He stuffed a large piece of meat into her mouth. As soon as she tasted it, she realized it wasn't normal food. It was sacred Kirin meat. Just a tiny bit of it made power surge through her body. Legend had it that capturing a Kirin was incredibly difficult. Even powerful cultivators had failed in the past. While Luo Qinshan was enjoying the power boost, the patriarch thought she was choking and poured a pot of water down her throat. But it wasn't just water. It was a high-level divine brew. Even a drop of this stuff was a luxury for her sect, and she just drank a whole pot. She was shocked and grateful, bowing to thank him. The patriarch casually told her not to be so polite because he had an entire lake full of that drink. Luo Qinshan was amazed by his wealth. Suddenly, thunder roared, signaling that she had broken through to the quenched bone realm. At the same time, the patriarch's system notified him that the task of expanding the sect was done, rewarding him with 10,000 years of power. With a loud boom, he broke through to the second rank of the Emperor realm. After 100,000 years, he finally leveled up again. He decided he would secretly help his juniors while working on his own upgrades. Luo Qinshan prepared to thank him again and go save the sect, but the patriarch pointed at the scorching sun in the sky and laughed, suggesting they take a sauna first. In the sauna, he looked very pleased, while she felt awkward. Seeing this, he offered to tell her a nursery rhyme to distract her. He started telling a positive story about a master and disciple living together. As he spoke, Luo Qinshan realized that steam was gathering around her. It turned out the patriarch wasn't just telling a story, he was transferring energy to her. The rhyme actually contained a legendary imperial-level technique called the Skyfire Secret. While their enemies only had Earth-level skills, the patriarch was teaching her something far superior. Luo Qinshan definitely didn't let the patriarch down. Back at the palace, the patriarch was casually chatting with the system, asking if just eating and telling stories with his junior disciple counted as breaking the rules. The system was totally speechless. The next morning, Luo Qinshan had successfully leveled up to the nourished spirit realm and was ready to head back. Before she left, the patriarch suddenly pulled out a small calf and handed it to her, jokingly saying she could roast it for a snack if she got hungry on the way. With all the powerful items she was bringing back, Luo felt confident that she could handle the Divine Sword sect. But just as she arrived, the protective barrier around her sect finally shattered. The Forget Immortal sect was completely defenseless. Suddenly, a voice called out from above. It was Yi Chen, a former disciple. He tried to convince everyone to switch sides, saying that smart birds choose better trees to rest in, so they should just join the Divine Sword sect like he did. The disciples were furious. They yelled at him, calling him a traitor and scum for betraying the sect that raised him. Yi Chen didn't care about their insults and calmly ordered his troops to finish them all. Suddenly, there was a loud boom. Elder Lu, despite being heavily injured, stepped up. He shouted that if Yi Chen wanted to harm the sect, he'd have to step over his body first. Elder Lu burned his remaining life force for one final strike, determined to take the traitor down with him. But just as he was about to land the hit, the Divine Sword sect's top student, the Sword Maniac, stepped in and blocked it. This guy was strong enough to rival the Elders and was the enemy's heavy hitter. Elder Lu realized it was over. He was already hurt, and against someone this strong, he didn't stand a chance. He was quickly kicked to the ground. Elder Lu felt total despair. The old master was gone, and now he was the last line of defense. If he couldn't hold on until Luo returned, the sect was finished. Just as Yi Chen was about to deliver the final blow to Elder Lu to prove his loyalty to his new masters, a blinding light flashed from the distance. A loud bang followed, and Yi Chen was sent flying into a huge pillar, looking completely knocked out. A voice rang out, mocking the Divine Sword sect for daring to bully their former masters. Luo Qinshan landed gracefully, with the angry little calf standing right beside her. Elder Lu was shocked and asked if she had brought the patriarch back. Luo smiled and explained that the patriarch refused to leave his seclusion and said they had to handle things themselves. The Sword Maniac stepped forward, looking impressed. He said that surviving the realm of high risk was a big deal, as he had almost lost his life there once. He bragged about a sword technique he learned there and challenged Luo, asking if she could handle his strongest strongest attack. Elder Lu panicked and told Luo to run because the guy was way above her level. He was an 8th rank nourished spirit expert. But Luo just smiled and said she'd handle it. Flames started gathering in her hand. The sword maniac got angry at her confidence and unleashed his dragon sword attack. Luo simply laughed and used her raging fire move. A phoenix made of flames crushed his attack instantly, and the explosion burnt the sword maniac's clothes right off, leaving him standing there in his underwear. Everyone was stunned. Luo mocked him for showing off, but suddenly, a powerful voice demanded to know who defeated his disciple. It was Tang Zong, a high-level elder from the enemy sect. Elder Lu recognized him as the one who finished off their old master and screamed for Luo to run. Luo was furious and accused Tang Zong of ending her master's life. Tang Zong laughed and prepared to fight. Luo blasted him with fire, but Tang Zong wasn't bothered. He suddenly revealed a long spear and struck Luo in the chest with a burst of energy. He bragged that his spear was made of invincible rock and was the same weapon that pierced her master's armor. Luo tried to get up and attack again, but Tang Zong blocked her flames and countered with the spear. Just when it looked like Luo was done for, a hoof fell from the sky. The little calf blocked the invincible spear with its horns, shattering the weapon into pieces. Tang Zong was confused and yelled at the bull to get lost. The calf decided to drop the act. It announced it was actually a King Realm demon and transformed into a massive, towering beast. Tang Zong was terrified. He fell to his knees begging the daddy demon not to eat him, but he was faking it. He secretly poured all his life force into a hidden dagger, planning a sneak attack while the beast was distracted. He thought his full power strike would work, but the bull simply sneezed. The lightning from that sneeze instantly turned Tang Zong into a crispy statue. The bull looked around and was annoyed that the lightning had charred all the nearby snacks. Back in the secret realm, the patriarch was thinking about how smart he was to send the bull, knowing its defense was unbreakable against these weaklings. Luo collapsed, realizing her pet was actually a super warrior. The enemy disciples scattered in fear. Elder Lu fell to the ground, barely holding on. The bull told Luo to give the old man some of the special wine. Elder Lu refused, saying he didn't want to waste such a precious treasure on a dying man. But Luo pulled out a huge jug of it. Elder Lu was so shocked he started licking the spilled drops off the ground. Luo told him not to be so dramatic because the patriarch had an entire lake of the stuff. The bull rolled its eyes and called him a bumpkin. Luo then showed off her sun god battle garb to prove everything was real. Elder Lu finally believed it and started chugging the divine wine. He recovered quickly, and with the patriarch's gifts, they vowed to wipe out the divine sword sect once and for all. Meanwhile, back at the divine sword sect, their leader sat calmly in his hall. It turned out his body had been taken over by a mysterious force, and he was the one pulling the strings behind the whole conflict. At this point, Jian Wuming was no longer himself. He had become a total puppet. His disciples at the divine sword sect were initially thrilled to see their master return, but their excitement quickly faded. They realized that even their master wasn't strong enough to handle the Black Thunderbolt python, especially since he had just recovered from a serious illness a month ago. Thinking fast, they begged him to lead an escape. They figured that as long as they survived, they could always rebuild and come back for revenge later. But Jian Wuming, now controlled by the magic bead, just smirked. He asked if he really needed useless people like them when he could just use them as fuel instead of the enemy. He raised the soul-devouring bead and flew into the air. Instantly, the entire sect was bathed in a strange magic light. The disciples couldn't move, and in the blink of an eye, their energy was completely drained, finishing them all off. With this massive boost, the bead grew even stronger, and Jian Wuming's power level skyrocketed. He quickly hit the second grade of the King Realm. Luo Qinshan and her bull, who were nearby, watched in shock. They wondered if the divine sword sect was actually destroying itself. Then, a voice spoke up behind the bull, noting how interesting it was that a small sect dared to fight back with a mutated beast and a legendary body type. The little black bull was startled. He realized the newcomers were demons. These creatures were tough to deal with because they used dark energy and grew stronger by feeding on others. He was confused because humans were supposed to have wiped them out hundreds of thousands of years ago. Luo Qinshan quickly messaged the bull, telling him she would hold off one demon while he took care of the other. She knew she was outmatched against a King Realm succubus, but she decided to go down fighting. She charged forward and unleashed her ultimate move, the Burning Sky Flame Slash. With one strike, the succubus stopped resisting. At the same time, the bull pretended to get hit. While the enemy was distracted by their apparent success, the bull wrapped its tail around him and called down a massive thunderbolt from the sky. They thought they had won, but a second later, the succubus flew out of the flames completely unharmed. She admitted that for someone at the nourished spirit realm, Luo's power was impressive, but the gap in their levels was just too big. Meanwhile, the power demon brutally tore the bull's tail, breaking through its invincible defense instantly. Just as the demons were about to finish them off, two energy blades knocked them back. A mysterious pair of siblings appeared and quickly dispatched the two demons. Luo rushed over to thank them, offering her precious divine wine as a gift. But the siblings didn't even look at it. They called it vulgar and explained they were only there to retrieve a national treasure, the soul-eating orb. They told Luo that small sects shouldn't mess with demons and that next time she should run away. However, the main element demon had finished refining the orb. After 100,000 years, this powerful entity, a half-step emperor, was back. The demon hunters weren't scared though. They declared that anyone who stole their treasure had to go down. The bull realized who they were, demon hunters. They had demon blood and could use demon powers, born specifically to fight demons stronger than themselves. Their ancestors were heroes in the great war against demons long ago. But before the hunters could do anything, they were slammed to the ground. They couldn't break through the demon's barrier. It turned out that refining the bead gave the demon a defense based on the laws of nature itself. With this power, he was basically untouchable. The hunters panicked. This was way beyond their league. They tried to flee, but the demon expanded the bead's power to cover the entire continent. He declared that the two hunters, the mutated bull, the legendary armor, and all the disciples of the Forget Immortal sect would become his fuel. Luo Qinshan felt terrible regret. She blamed herself for leading her people into a trap and watched helplessly as her energy was slowly drained. Suddenly, a loud noise echoed from the sky. "Hello, my juniors!" A massive vortex opened up, and a giant, colorful arm reached down. The bull instantly knew his master had arrived. Even the element demon trembled in fear. To use the laws of nature without any tools meant this newcomer was at least at the Emperor realm. The demon couldn't understand why such a powerful being was here, claiming to be the patriarch of a small sect. Chen Xuan smiled and said he was just there to say hello, not necessarily to save them. He cheekily asked his system if shaking hands with a junior counted as making a move. The system was speechless again. The demon breathed a sigh of relief, thinking a being this powerful wouldn't care about their petty fight. Chen Xuan politely explained that in his place, they greeted people by shaking hands. While the demon was confused, a giant palm descended from the sky. Wait, the demon thought. Why is he shaking hands with his junior but aiming at me? He finally realized he was the target. The demon was furious. He had waited thousands of years, taken over a sect leader's body, and spent ages refining the bead. He wasn't about to go down just as he reappeared. He decided to go all out. He activated his demon bloodline, the bead's power, and the heavenly sword battle garb. He felt confident. "Come and fight. Even the gods can't stop me now. I am the peak of this continent." But before he could finish bragging, Chen Xuan slapped him tens of thousands of meters away. The impact nearly split the continent in half. Chen Xuan sneered, reminding everyone that 10,000 years ago, history books were filled with the phrase, "Xuan Heaven Emperor is invincible." He added that his defining trait was protecting his own people. The demon hunter siblings were stunned. They realized their own powerful kingdom was like an anthill compared to this guy. The patriarch decided to go back to being lazy. He told everyone to study hard and improve every day. The disciples waved goodbye proudly. The hunter siblings felt awkward because they had just mocked the sect for being small and weak. Realizing they needed to make amends, they stopped Luo Qinshan and offered her a gift, the Starfall map from their kingdom. It was a treasure map showing the location of a powerful artifact. Luo tried to refuse such a valuable gift, but the siblings, thinking she was looking down on them, kneeled and insisted. Luo reluctantly accepted. She felt a new sense of purpose. With their main enemy destroyed and their faith restored, it was time to rebuild the Forget Immortal sect. The crisis was over. The first trial was complete, and Chen Xuan got a reward of 10,000 years of power, reaching the third tier of the Emperor realm. The system notified him that the next mission involved an intruder in the realm of high risk, and that he had to find clues himself. Meanwhile, an old man named Wen Baiyu visited the realm of high risk. He was a king realm expert who thought he was invincible, and the local beasts usually respected him. Nearing the end of his life, he was looking for a good place to be buried. He had no idea who really owned the place. Suddenly, a loud noise rang out, and Chen Xuan appeared in a blaze of glory. Seeing this, the arrogant king realm expert couldn't help but fall to his knees. Chen Xuan looked at the intruder and asked, "How dare you trespass into my realm of high risk? Do you want to leave on your own, or should I help you out?" Unexpectedly, Wen Baiyu straightened his back and tried to act tough, claiming he was the world-famous Jade-Face Venerable, and that Chen might have some misunderstanding about his status. But literally a second later, he realized Chen Xuan's true power level and dropped to his knees. Chen Xuan remembered the system saying his next task was related to this guy, so he decided to fish for clues. He asked Wen if he knew of any declining sects or descendants of the Chen family. Wen admitted that 10 years ago, he mentored 2 kids from the Chen family on the east side of the continent. He explained that one was a girl with amazing talent who improved fast, but the other was a total lost cause, even though he had a rare thunderlight body. Wen then made a pretty rude comment, saying that in his thousands of years of experience, the females in the Chen family were geniuses, but the males were mostly trash. Hearing this, Chen Xuan looked a bit awkward and quietly said, "Well, my surname is Chen." He was about to smack Wen with a giant energy fist for the insult, but changed his mind and pulled a pear out of his palm instead. excited. He told Wen, "Since you taught my descendants, here's a pear for your trouble." Wen felt humiliated accepting fruit like a beggar, but he didn't dare refuse. However, as soon as he took a bite, his face turned red. He realized this wasn't just a pear, it was the legendary golden snake-coiled fruit. Just one of these could extend a person's life by 1,000 years. He had been searching for this holy medicine for ages and never found it. He felt embarrassed about gnawing on it so desperately, but he couldn't stop. Chen Xuan pointed to a basket of radishes nearby and casually mentioned that he had a lot of useless stuff like that lying around, and it would just rot if no one ate it. Wen's eyes went wide. He immediately hugged Chen Xuan's leg, forgetting all about his dignity. He begged to be Chen's underling, saying he'd support him for life. Chen Xuan was speechless. If the system didn't stop him from taking action himself, he wouldn't have bothered with this old guy. But since he needed someone to run errands, he accepted. Meanwhile, on the other side of the continent, Chen's descendant, Chen Daorong, was confused and struggling. As the head of the declining Chen family, he held the token the patriarch left behind and prayed for help. 100 years ago, the family was great, but now they were struggling. At the academy, Daorang was constantly bullied. While others got high-quality resources, he was given the worst food because the academy distributed supplies based on merit. Even though he had the rare thunder body, his internal channels were narrow, so he couldn't absorb energy well. Everyone saw him as a failure. That day, Daorang only received a few rotten fruits. His sister, who was ranked first in the academy, tried to give him her own high-quality chicken leg, but people mocked him for living off his sister. Yeyumo, the second-ranked student, laughed at him, calling him a waste and telling him to return the food. Ye told Daorang he should just submit to the academy like his family did, instead of struggling. Daorang's sister was about to draw her sword to defend him, but Daorang stopped her. He tried to reason with them, saying they should resolve things like gentlemen. The crowd just burst into laughter, telling him the Chen family's glory days were long gone. When Yumo insulted his family, Daorang finally snapped. He shoved a smelly pear right into Yi's mouth. Even though the fruit had spiritual power, it smelled terrible. While Yi was busy gagging, Daorang grabbed the supplies and ran away, planning to give them to his sister to help her training. Daorang looked at the statue of the academy's founder, Wen, and felt sad. The academy was supposed to be fair, but the new dean had ruined it. To get resources now, students had to sign unfair contracts. Daorang refused to sign because it would mean the end of his family's independence. Suddenly, the dean approached him with a contract his sister had already signed. The deal was that if she won the upcoming competition, she would belong to the academy, but the family would get resources. The dean was clearly plotting to use her status for his own gain. Daorang felt terrible, realizing his sister was sacrificing herself because he was too weak to protect the family. He went to Wen's statue, placed some offerings, and prayed to the patriarch's token again. He asked, "You said to ask for help in a crisis. We are about to lose my sister. Can you please lend a hand?" Suddenly, the token glowed blue, and a bolt of lightning zapped Daorang. He got mad and yelled, "You irresponsible patriarch! You zap me when I ask for help? Watch me eat your offerings and disrespect your statue." Meanwhile, the real Wen Baiyu received instructions from Chen Xuan and teleported to the location. He saw Daorang about to disrespect the statue and was furious, but he couldn't hurt Chen Xuan's descendant. He grabbed Daorang and flew him straight to the realm of high risk. When they arrived, Wen told Daorang that his patriarch was inside. Daorang was excited, thinking his patriarch must be a big shot since he was with Wen. But when he walked in, he saw a man sleeping in a pile of what looked like garbage next to a terrifying monster bird. Daorang was scared out of his mind. He thought his patriarch was a prisoner or a servant sleeping in the trash. He begged Wen to save him, but then, to his shock, Wen knelt down. The monster bird, the purple netherworld sparrow, spoke up and told Master to wake up. Daorang questioned his entire reality. Why were the famous Wen and a legendary monster bowing to this beggar? Then Luo Qinchin flew over and treated the patriarch with total respect, thanking him for the legendary items he gave her. Daorang finally realized this man really was the patriarch. He quickly bowed, thinking that since he was family, he was about to get some amazing rewards like imperial beasts or treasures. Chen Xuan saw right through his greedy thoughts. He decided that since Daorang had managed the family so poorly, he needed to be punished first. Chen waved his hand, and instantly, Daorang's cultivation and armor were destroyed. Daorang clutched his chest in pain, confused why the patriarch would turn him into a complete waste. Chen Xuan bluntly told him that his previous power level was trash anyway, so destroying it didn't make a difference. He then announced that the punishment wasn't over. He ordered Daorang to stay and work as his cauldron boy, stoking the fire for his alchemy for the next couple of weeks. He made it clear that Daorang wasn't allowed to leave until the job was done. Chen Daorang panicked when he heard the orders. He told the patriarch that his younger sister had a huge martial arts contest in 10 days, and he had to go back immediately. But the patriarch suddenly turned fierce, telling him he had no right to refuse. He gave Daorang a strict ultimatum: either do a good job tending the furnace or face a dead end. Helpless, Chen Daorang had to swallow his pride and kneel to thank him. Inside, he was confused and hurt, wondering why his own patriarch was being so cruel to a family member without giving him any benefits. He felt like like he was going to die from exhaustion. 3 days later, back at the White Deer Academy, Chen Kaier easily passed her first test. She defeated a tough-looking opponent who turned out to be all talk. Everyone was impressed by her raw talent, especially since she didn't have fancy resources like the rich kids. But Kaier was worried. Since she signed the deal with the academy, her brother had vanished, and she feared he was angry with her. The new dean, Bai Donggrong, watched her win with a greedy look in his eyes. He planned to package her as Wen's senior disciple after she won, using her success to boost the academy's influence. Meanwhile, back at the palace, Daorang had been working tirelessly at the alchemy furnace for a full day and night. Just as he tried to take a quick break, the patriarch yelled at him, reminding him that he had been stripped of his armor, cultivation, food, and rest. Daorang clenched his fists, but didn't dare complain. The day of the big competition arrived. Chen Kaier had already defeated challengers from 9 other academies. One more win and she'd be the top student of her generation. Her final opponent was Ye Yumo, the second-ranked student at the academy. Yi mocked her for submitting to the academy, but Kaier said she did it to help her brother become a genius. Yi laughed and told her that even with more resources, her brother would still be a waste. He claimed that feeding resources to pigs would be a better investment than giving them to Daorang. Kaier ignored the insults and used the White Deer sword art, a technique created by Wen himself. She surprised everyone with her skill. Yi Yumo was clearly losing, and even the dean sighed, wishing Yi could just accept being second best. Kaier demanded that Yi apologize to her brother in exchange for sparing him. Just when everyone thought Yi was done for, he smirked. Moving faster than the eye could see, he punched Kaier in the stomach. The blow instantly destroyed her spiritual veins. Suddenly, 2 identical Ye Yumos appeared on the field. The crowd was stunned. The dean jumped up in shock, realizing Yi was wearing the rare twin battle garb left by Senior Wen. This armor could double a person's power and give them an extra life. No one could believe Kaier was defeated in one hit. Yi pointed at her proudly, using her brother's own words against her, telling her not to underestimate a poor youth. The dean couldn't believe his eyes. He had always wanted that armor for himself, but it was hidden for someone destined to find it. Yi looked up at the sky and laughed, explaining that he only found the armor because of Daorang. If Daorang hadn't shoved that nasty pear in his mouth and given him diarrhea, he wouldn't have fallen into the pit where the armor was hidden. Meanwhile, Daorang was exhausted and frustrated with his biased patriarch. Suddenly, he received a message from his family token saying his sister's cultivation was destroyed and she was critically injured. The message told him to return home immediately. Back at the arena, Ye Yumo used his overwhelming advantage to lift Kaier with one hand. He told her he was actually looking for her brother, but since Daorang was missing, she should kneel and apologize for him. Kaier spat at him and refused. Ye slapped her across the face and threatened to keep hitting her until she kneeled. He launched a brutal attack. The male students in the crowd ground their teeth in anger, wondering why he had no compassion. Kaier, the academy's star, couldn't fight back anymore. It was clearly a personal grudge being settled in public. Shockingly, the dean didn't stop it. Instead, he told Yi to continue, promising to take responsibility even if he finished her off. The dean had a new plan. Since Yi was stronger and obedient, he would make Yi the new face of the academy instead of Kaier. Yi, no longer held back, decided to do something worse than just defeating her. He kicked Kaier, breaking her legs and shattering her energy core. The academy's pride was now completely broken. At that moment, Daorang sensed his sister was in danger. He angrily demanded that the patriarch let him go save her, but the patriarch was busy relaxing, imagining himself on a beach, and ignored him. Daorang snapped. He called Chen Xuan a scumbag and yelled, "If you want to torture me, just finish me off. I know I'm useless, but my sister is dying while you play favorites. I'd rather fight you to the death than watch this." Just as he prepared to fight, energy surged through Daorang's body. His innate thunder body reactivated. He felt his narrow energy channels suddenly widen, and his lost cultivation seemed to jump all the way to the divine realm. Wen Baiyu stepped forward and explained the truth. He told Daorang that the patriarch never wanted to hurt him. Destroying his cultivation was actually sealing his original power to make room for something better. The pressure and lack of rest were all part of the process to prepare his body. Before Wen could finish, the furnace opened, and a golden light wrapped around Daorang. It was the four-sealed battle garb, one of the top 10 ancient armors, far stronger than anything else. Daorang felt a massive power boost. He realized the patriarch did it all for his own good. Wen explained that this armor required the user's powers to be sealed, and their anger to be at a boiling point to activate. That's why the patriarch kept provoking him. Chen Xuan had spent all night picking this armor and even sacrificed a 1,000-year essence to unlock it, which was why he looked so tired. Daorang was touched. He realized the trash he saw earlier was actually valuable gear chosen just for him. He asked why the patriarch didn't just say so. Luo Qinshan explained that the patriarch was a bit of a tsundere. He never gave gifts directly and always acted tough. The three of them started gossiping about him right in front of his face. Chen Xuan was speechless. He thought to himself that he only did it this way because the system forbade him from giving direct help. But since he technically didn't hand it over directly, it didn't count as a violation. Daorang fell to his knees and thanked the patriarch for the armor, apologizing for his earlier outbursts. Chen Xuan waved him off, claiming he didn't give him anything, and that Daorang was kneeling to the wrong person. Daorang got emotional and said his father passed away when he was young. He said his father was also tough on the outside but kind on the inside, just like Chen Xuan. He told the patriarch, "You are like a father to me." Hearing this, Chen Xuan stood up with tears in his eyes. He handed Daorang a small wooden stick and told him to go back and beat up the people bullying his sister. Back at the academy, Yahello was using the injured Kaier as leverage to force the Chen family to sign a surrender agreement. The corrupted family elder was about to sign when Daorang arrived just in time. He punched the elder into the ground, asking who gave him the right to decide for the family. Facing Yahello, Daorang smashed the agreement with one palm. He declared that he wouldn't surrender. He challenged Yi to a fight. If Daorang lost, the family was theirs. If he won, Yi was finished. He set the match for the next day. Everyone thought Daorang was crazy. The #1 waste was challenging the strongest student, gambling his whole family's fate. Even the dean told Yi not to hold back, and to finish Daorang off, to set an example for anyone who dared to oppose the academy. Yahello looked at Daorang with total contempt. He arrogantly claimed that with his twin battle garb, crushing Daorang would be as easy as stepping on an ant. Daorang didn't hesitate to fire back, telling Yi he was only lucky enough to find Senior Wen's inheritance in a dung heap because of him. He hinted that he didn't just sit around during the days he was gone. Suddenly, Daorang unleashed a burst of energy that took Yi by surprise. The sheer confidence and power radiating from him proved he had found some serious upgrades. While Ye was still processing this, Daorang punched him hard. Yi instinctively activated his protective energy shield, expecting to block it easily. But to everyone's shock, Daorang was bounced back by the impact and fell heavily to the ground. Yi was confused. 1 second Daorang was fierce, the next he was on the floor. The dean burst into laughter, mocking Daorang for acting tough only to be defeated in one move, just like his sister. The students shook their heads, convinced that trash would always be trash. Even Yahello stepped forward to mock him, calling him pretentious. Daorang calmly stood up and explained that it was his first time using his new battle garb in combat, and he had forgotten to release its seal. He revealed that the more he sealed his power, the stronger the armor became when unsealed. Before Yi could make another joke, Daorang suddenly attacked, knocking Yi down with a single palm strike. Everyone was stunned. When did this guy get so strong? Daorang closed his eyes arrogantly, saying he barely used any effort to reach Yi's limit. But when he opened his eyes, Yi had vanished. Yi had used the twin battle garb's special ability to dodge the fatal blow. Yi decided to stop playing games. He activated the 4 forbidden techniques, summoning 4 massive spiritual images that shocked the crowd. These were secret techniques passed down by Senior Wen. Even the talented Chen Kaier had only learned 1, but Yi had mastered all 4. The dean exclaimed that with Yi's talent, the academy's future was bright. Yi attacked cautiously this time, but Daorang remained calm. He smirked and asked, "You thought that was my full power?" He then unsealed his speed, moving so fast he was invisible. He kicked Yi in the stomach and followed up with a palm strike that sent him flying. Instantly, all 4 spiritual images shattered, and Yi's twin battle garb broke into pieces. The dean was so shocked he felt like he was going bald again. Daorang boasted that Wen's armor was nothing compared to his. He bragged that Wen was just his patriarch's little brother. Yi couldn't believe it and accused Daorang of using dark magic. Daorang replied that he would leave no room for doubt. He unleashed his full power, divine realm energy, thunderlight body, and the 4-seal battle garb, completely crushing Yi. Daorang sneered, "What twin battle garb? I have the 4-seal battle garb, which is 2 levels higher." The dean coughed up blood in disbelief. He realized Daorang possessed one of the legendary 10 great battle garbs and had reached the divine realm. Yahello, driven insane by his defeat, refused to believe reality. He screamed that it must be a dream, but Daorang was done talking. Driven by the need to avenge his sister, he launched a full-force strike at Ye's face, ending the fight permanently. The students watched in horror as Daorang finished off Yahello. Daorang stood over him, unfazed. He declared that Yi broke the rules and brutally injured his sister, so he deserved this fate. The dean was furious that his prized student was gone. He yelled that Yi only crippled the sister's cultivation, but Daorang went too far by ending his life. The dean gave Daorang an ultimatum: pledge allegiance to the academy or die. Daorang wasn't intimidated. He argued that they had a life and death agreement, so his actions were justified. The dean threatened him again, saying strength ruled the world. Daorang replied resolutely, "If it means my clan must submit to you, I'd rather die, you red red-haired old bald donkey." The crowd gasped at the insult. The dean, enraged by Daorang's arrogance, unleashed his trump card, the White Whale Dive, a move Senior Wen once used to defeat 3 major sects. Daorang countered by releasing his seals. The collision of their powers caused a massive explosion that knocked away nearby students and shook the forest miles away. When the dust settled, the dean was panting on the ground, injured. The students couldn't believe Daorang had hurt the dean. But suddenly, laughter came from the smoke. Daorang emerged completely unscathed. The crowd was shocked again. The dean immediately went on high alert, thinking Daorang must have a powerful magical artifact protecting him. But in reality, Daorang was faking it. He was seriously injured and barely holding on against a King Realm warrior. Daorang decided to stop holding back. He announced he would use the artifact he retrieved from his patriarch 100,000 years ago to smash the dean. The dean panicked, knowing that someone with ancient armor might actually have a powerful weapon. But when Daorang pulled out the artifact, everyone froze. It was just a piece of firewood. Daorang was dumbfounded. He realized he had grabbed the stick he used for the alchemy furnace by mistake. The dean laughed hysterically, calling him a waste holding a piece of waste. Even though everyone thought he was beaten silly, Daorang chose to trust his patriarch. He insisted it must be an ancient artifact. Meanwhile, Patriarch Chen Xuan was watching from afar, totally embarrassed. He realized he had accidentally packed the wrong item because he was too emotional earlier. He wanted to help, but the system forbade direct interference. Suddenly, he had an idea. If he couldn't help the junior directly, he would help the stick. He secretly injected spiritual power into the wood. Suddenly, the broken stick repaired itself and started spinning rapidly. It pierced through the dean's giant whale spirit avatar and smashed into his arm, shattering his armor and breaking his bones instantly. The students were terrified, wondering what kind of terrifying weapon this was. The dean was shocked, wondering if this was the legendary stick intention. The stick flew back to Daorang's hand. Daorang shouted excitedly, "I knew Patriarch wouldn't deceive me! This is a divine weapon!" But then, the dean's eyes turned strange, and his hair started growing wildly. He shouted, "Even if you have stick intentions, so what? I've discovered whip intention from meditating on hair growth for years, and whips naturally defeat sticks." The students were stunned as the dean's bald head exploded with wild hair. He screamed, "Come on, loser! You should feel honored to have pushed me this far." Chen Daorang gripped the wooden stick tightly. He told the dean that even if a whip was supposed to be the counter to a stick, it didn't matter because he trusted the patriarch unconditionally. But a moment later, the dean's wild red hair wrapped around the stick, and Daorang found himself completely overpowered. Just when things looked hopeless, the patriarch sent a mental message to Daorang, telling him to combine his stick intention with the 4-sealed battle garb. Suddenly, the wooden stick in Daorang's hand started growing rapidly until it looked like a massive pillar. With one fierce strike, the dean's giant spirit whale was instantly shattered. The dean couldn't understand how a simple stick could transform like that, and the weapon kept growing until it smashed a distant statue. Watching from afar, Chen Xuan was super satisfied, remarking that his disciples were truly gifted. The system was confused and asked what kind of technique that was. Chen Xuan admitted he had just passed on some staff skills he learned from a book about the Monkey King. Back at the arena, the dean had run out of energy and collapsed. Daorang watched the staff shrink back down, amazed by the power of the patriarch's artifact. He shouted to the students that the old dean was gone and he was taking over. He asked if anyone had objections. Everyone quickly agreed to submit, figuring one boss was the same as another. But Daorang stopped them. He told them he didn't want them to kneel or submit. He explained that he wanted to return the academy to its original purpose, a place where everyone could practice equally. He promised not to hoard resources like the old dean. He declared that from now on, the White Deer Academy would be a sanctuary for everyone. Daorang's display of strength ensured no one dared to plot against him. His sister, Chen Kaier, eventually recovered, and the Chen family's reputation soared once again. Meanwhile, back in the realm of high risk, Chen Xuan completed a task and leveled up to the Supreme Earth rank, meaning he was finally safe from most attacks. He was about to ask Luo Qinshin to cook, but he suddenly saw his 2 powerful pets lying on the ground, heavily injured. Chen Xuan felt a wave of fear he hadn't felt in a long time. Suddenly, a voice spoke from behind him, presenting the chaos as a gift. A water element enemy appeared. Chen Xuan was furious and summoned a spiritual hand to crush him, but the enemy blocked it easily with a blue-scaled claw. The enemy laughed, mocking Chen Xuan for hiding for so long and falling behind the times. He claimed Chen Xuan owed a debt from the past that had to be paid. Just as the enemy launched a massive attack and Chen Xuan began to panic, he heard a voice calling him, "Patriarch, wake up! The fried chicken is ready!" It turned out it was all just a nightmare, but the enemy felt so real that Chen Xuan was shaken. He asked Daorang and Luo if nightmares could come true. Luo raised her hand and said she often had hunger dreams that made her feel bad about herself. Daorang mentioned that nightmares often come from deep grudges held by enemies. He asked the patriarch if he had any enemies with deep grudges. Chen Xuan started counting on his fingers and said he could count them on 2 hands, but then he started foaming at the mouth. It turned out he was counting in units of 10,000. After living for 200,000 years, he had made a lot of enemies. Chen Xuan decided he needed to get stronger immediately. and asked the system about the next trial. The system told him the next task actually started 10,000 years ago because a threat from the demon clan, Merlin, had returned. However, the person meant to face this threat, Zhu Wuyan, was currently trying to dodge the draft. He was trying to escape the battle, even though an old lady nearby scolded him for it. Zhu felt ashamed because he knew he was strong, but he was scared. He tried to claim he was disabled to avoid joining the army. He showed the recruiters his disability. He opened his mouth wide and cried that he was born without tonsils. The old lady was furious that he would use such a silly excuse to avoid fighting for humanity. She threatened to beat him up herself. A soldier named Mao Mo stepped in, but he wasn't there to save Zhu. He wanted to finish Zhu off for desertion to climb the ranks. Zhu was terrified. His internal war god armor was urging him to fight, but he was just a farmer at heart. Just as Mao Mo's sword was about to hit, Zhu suddenly stood up. He swung his farming hoe with immense power and knocked the soldier out cold. It wasn't bravery. It was because he saw Mao Mo step on his rice seedlings. Zhu shouted that they could end him, but destroying his crops was unforgivable. This triggered his fighting spirit. Mao Mo's sister, Mao Men, rushed over to stop him, promising to pay for the crops. Zhu demanded every single penny. Mao Men realized that the move Zhu just used looked exactly like the legendary war god's technique. They dragged Zhu to the battlefield, where the situation was dire. The human forces were decimated, and General Wu Ho was the last one standing against Merlin. The general called out for the war god to save them, but he was losing the fight. Mao Men tried to tell the general they found the war god, but her brother stopped her, terrified that Zhu would turn on them. Fed up with his selfishness, she slapped her brother and ran to the general, shouting that help was coming. This news gave the desperate soldiers a glimmer of hope. Meanwhile, Zhu Wuyan was terrified of being sent to fight. He found a tree and was tying a rope to a branch, planning to end his own life rather than face Merlin. Just as he kicked the stool away, Mao Men found him. She thought he was just playing on a swing and tried to talk to him, but Zhu was choking and couldn't explain that he was actually trying to escape his fate. Mao Men was tired of Zhu Wuyan's silence. She shouted, "You don't have to say anything. I already told General Wu Hu who you are. The human race needs you now. Please, fight with me." Zhu Wuyan remained completely silent. Mao Men thought he was still mad about her brother, so she said, "If you help us, I'll die for my brother." Still, Zhu didn't say a word. Then she remembered something. She blurted out, "You said if I married you, you'd go to the battlefield. Fine, I'll marry you." Suddenly, with a loud bang, Zhu Wuyan started floating in the air. Mao Men was stunned. Because of love, this peasant farmer suddenly unlocked his inner power and started flying. On the battlefield, General Wu Ho led the last surviving soldiers, fighting to the bitter end. He didn't realize this was all a trap by Merlin to lure out the war god. Despite their efforts, the human army was collapsing. With a loud crack, Wu Hu's spear shattered during a final clash, and after countless battles, he was ultimately defeated by Merlin. Merlin launched a final fatal attack at Wu Ho, but suddenly, a farming hoe appeared out of nowhere and blocked the strike. Everyone froze. A human blocked a demon's attack with a hoe? Zhu Wuyan had arrived just in time. Both sides stared in disbelief. Was this the war god? But he looked like he had zero cultivation power. The demon general assumed it was a fake war god trying to stall for time. He ordered his army, "Kill them all!" The entire demon horde roared and charged. The demon general attacked Zhu directly, shouting, "I'm going to eat you!" Terrified, Zhu squeezed his eyes shut, gripped his hoe tight, and swung it with all his might. To everyone's shock, that single panic swing wiped out Merlin's entire army instantly. Wu Hu's eyes went wide. Those weren't weaklings. They were high-level experts. Watching from afar, Chen Xuan smiled. He knew the war god battle garb was perfect for Zhu because its power didn't depend on cultivation but on the intensity of the owner's emotions. Seeing victory, the humans cheered wildly. To motivate Zhu further, Wu Ho shouted, "Great one! If you save us, we'll give you 100,000 acres of fertile land." That hit Zhu right in the heart. What farmer doesn't love land? He was ready to fight for that dirt. He swung his hoe at a new demon, but the arrogant enemy just raised a hand to block it, sneering, "Do you really think a hoe is a weapon? Ridiculous." But a split second later, he regretted it. A massive force erupted, shaking the entire battlefield. Zhu looked around and asked, "Did I solve it?" But suddenly, creepy laughter filled the air. A huge, grotesque hand reached out. The demon mocked him. "Little ant, I have 100,000 demons inside me. To beat me, you have to defeat me 100,000 times." This monster was a living weapon made of countless bodies. Zhu was stunned. The demon slapped him into the ground and bombarded him with attacks. Every hit carried the power of 100,000 souls. Zhu felt powerless. He thought, "He's right, I can't do this alone." The Demon King got bored and decided to finish him. A deep, abyssal mouth opened on the monster's body, ready to swallow Zhu whole. The human soldiers wept in despair, but suddenly a loud shout rang out. Zhu swung his hoe again and instantly wiped out the 100,000 demons. He yelled, "I can't possibly farm 100,000 acres alone." It turned out he wasn't scared of the demons. He was stressed about the workload of the reward. He added, "I also want a cow." The soldiers were confused. A god asking for a cow? Wu Ho quickly promised him 1,000 cows. The Demon King was speechless but furious. He decided to act himself. A lump of flesh on his chest bulged and turned into a ferocious eye, the same demon eye that broke the war god's seal 1,000 years ago. Energy gathered in the eye and fired a beam that pierced straight through Zhu Wuyan. The system warned Chen Xuan, host descendant gone. Mission failed. Trial 3 ended. Chen Xuan just calmly watched, unbothered. He knew the secret: as long as the fighting spirit remains, the war god cannot fall. Suddenly, Zhu Wuyan resurrected at full health. With one swing of his hoe, he dug a massive hole in the Demon King's chest. The audience gasped. Zhu sighed. After this fight, I'm going home to farm. But suddenly, hands grabbed his neck. It was the Demon King. He wasn't gone. To Zhu's shock, the Demon King also summoned a war god battle garb and even ripped Zhu's armor off. It turned out the Demon King had found a piece of the war god's remains 100,000 years ago and used it to survive. His goal all along was to steal the rest of the armor from Zhu. He fused the pieces and broke through to the Emperor realm, restoring his youth. All humans must perish, he screamed. A meteor-sized demon eye appeared in the sky, firing a world-destroying beam. Humanity fell into despair, but suddenly, the attack bounced back, hitting the Demon King and making him cough up blood. Who blocked my attack? He roared. A voice laughed. Hee hee. Since you're from 100,000 years ago, you should remember my name. I am the Dark Emperor, Chen Xuan. The Demon King was once a human baby, abandoned because he couldn't cultivate. He was hunted by Merlin and left to die by his own mother. In his darkest moment, the war god saved him but also told him to fight or die. That harsh lesson twisted him into a demon king who hated humanity. He believed the war god abandoned him too, forcing him to unleash his dark power. Chen Xuan listened to the backstory and looked surprised. He said, "That's not what happened. I was there." He explained the real story. 100,000 years ago, Chen Xuan wanted to eat hot pot but didn't have any base ingredients. So, he borrowed some spirit grass from a spirit tribe. They chased him for 3 days. To escape, he used a massive move to create a no-fly zone, but he accidentally knocked a piece of his war god armor loose. That piece fell and was picked up by the baby who became the Demon King. Basically, the Demon King's entire tragic origin story was caused by Chen Xuan wanting a snack. But of course, who would believe something so ridiculous? The Demon King insisted that the war god told him he would perish if he didn't fight. Hearing this, Chen Xuan felt incredibly awkward. He couldn't believe the divine guidance Ling Tong was talking about was actually just him rambling about food. The truth was, back when he opened the abyss, Chen Xuan realized he had the hot pot base but forgot the dipping sauce. He had muttered to himself that he had to dip the meat in bean paste, or he would feel super unlucky. There was never any deep wisdom about fighting or destiny. It was just a guy craving the right condiments. When Ling Tong realized his 100,000-year faith and hatred were built on a misunderstanding about hot pot, he snapped. He summoned all his energy, fully transforming into the war god battle garb, and decided to crush Chen Xuan for ruining his worldview. The crowd watched in horror as the true war god form raised a fist the size of a mountain. The power was strong enough to split the ground. He shouted that it was time to end this, but Chen Xuan looked annoyed, wondering why no one ever believed him when he told the truth. In the blink of an eye, Chen Xuan vanished and reappeared right in front of Ling Tong. He slapped him hard across the face. At the same time, a giant spiritual hand struck Ling Tong, scattering his physical form instantly. Ling Tong was stunned. He realized only one person could defeat the immortal war god armor so easily, the legendary Zhuantian emperor from the history books. Realizing he was outmatched, Ling Tong panicked. He knew if he didn't run, he was finished. He shot towards the war god abyss, trying to escape. Zhu Wuyan was astonished, seeing the terrifying Demon King running away in fear. He finally realized that the beggar really was the patriarch. He dropped to his knees and begged Chen Xuan to finish Ling Tong off, warning that the demon would return for revenge if he escaped. Chen Xuan scoffed, asking if they finally believed him now. He claimed he didn't care about saving them, and was just there to look at the ditch he dug years ago. Zhu Wuyan got anxious and begged him to stop joking and protect the human race. Chen Xuan didn't say another word. He decided to show them who really ruled this continent. Suddenly, 2 massive energy hands descended from the sky. With a single thought, Chen Xuan forced the mountains on either side of the abyss to slam together, physically sealing the war god abyss shut. The impact was massive. It defied all laws of physics. It turned out Chen Xuan had merged the abyss into the mountain, crushing Ling Tong inside. However, because Ling Tong wore the war god battle garb, his hateful soul was immortal. Even though his body was gone, his spirit would eventually return to cause trouble. The humans asked if Chen Xuan would help them when that happened. Chen Xuan coldly replied that their safety wasn't his problem. However, there was one way to solve it permanently. Someone had to become the vessel for the armor and the angry soul. Zhu Wuyan was the perfect candidate, but hosting the armor meant being constantly drawn into battles and enduring the the pain of Ling Tong's resentful spirit. It was a heavy burden, and he could lose his life at any moment. Chen Xuan gave him a choice: take the armor, or go back to living peacefully as a farmer. He didn't force him. Zhu Wuyan's face lit up with determination. He ran to his wife, Mao Men. He apologized to her, knowing she didn't want him to suffer. He hugged her tight and told her they had to put their marriage on hold for a while, or she might end up a widow. Everyone was stunned. Zhu Wuyan explained that after experiencing war, he finally understood why people risked their lives. It wasn't about being fearless, it was about having something precious to protect. He declared that he had someone important to protect now, so he couldn't be a coward anymore. He turned to the patriarch and shouted that he was willing to take on the war god battle garb and had no regrets. His passionate speech made everyone see him in a new light. Chen Xuan smiled and said, "Not bad, kid. You finally earned my approval." Chen Xuan casually extracted Ling Tong's soul from the crushed mountain. He warned the demon soul to behave itself inside his junior's body. Terrified of Chen Xuan, the demon didn't dare argue. Chen Xuan then merged the soul and the armor into Zhu Wuyan. The system announced that the crisis was resolved, and Zhu Wuyan had reached the 7th level of the Emperor Realm. The war was finally over. However, just as things settled, a green light shot straight into the sky. It turned out that the massive power released by the host had disturbed the earth, causing the ancient burial ground of the spirit race to emerge way ahead of schedule. Because of this, the 4th trial started early. The goal was simple. One of the juniors had to claim the spirit race's inheritance. It was pretty ironic. Years ago, the humans robbed the spirit tribe, and now they had to go dig up their ancestral graves too. The patriarch, Chen Xuan, gave Zhu Wuyan a strict order: go to that tomb and secure the inheritance. Failure wasn't an option. Zhu Wuyan headed into the wilderness. After spending several days sleeping outside and eating whatever he could find, the demon spirit Ling Tong took over his mind again. They soon ran into a massive conch shell monster that was taller than a mountain. A survival expert named Ed Stafford was actually hiding behind a small hill nearby, terrified of the creature. But to Ling Tong, this giant monster was just a snack. With the war god spear in hand, he took the creature down instantly. Ed Stafford watched in shock because he couldn't sense any cultivation power coming from Ling Tong. The use of the war god armor snapped Zhu Wuyan back to reality. He looked at the defeated monster in confusion. Suddenly, a green bubble floated out of the conch's mouth. It unleashed a powerful suction force, sucked the entire giant conch inside, and let out a burp. Zhu Wuyan realized his potential meal had just vanished. Seeing this, Ed Stafford was convinced this was an ancient 100,000-year-old creature and that the bubble was about to hatch a legendary conch girl, a mythical beauty. The bubble turned from green to pink, and both men watched with intense anticipation, waiting for a beautiful lady to appear. They heard the sound of a shell cracking. Something was definitely coming out. But a second later, they both wanted to claw their own eyes out. Instead of a beautiful girl, a fat, greasy, middle-aged uncle popped out. To make it worse, he was completely naked and dancing with a look of deep affection on his face. Zhu Wuyan was so grossed out he wanted to deliver justice right there. He grabbed his hoe to strike, but strangely, the attack didn't hurt the man at all. Instead, the greasy uncle hugged him tight, crying about how much he missed his master. Zhu Wuyan, who hadn't eaten in days, felt like throwing up from the sheer awkwardness of the hug. But the uncle suddenly realized something was wrong. He pushed Zhu Wuyan away, looking confused. He said the aura was off. While Zhu had the same laziness as his master, he wasn't him. He called Zhu a pervert for imitating his master. Zhu was offended, asking who the real pervert was here. It turned out this guy was Chen Xuan's servant from way back. He explained that 100,000 years ago, his master was chased by the spirit tribe for 3 days just to make hot pot, and he had fallen asleep in a conch shell during the chaos. He asked what year it was and where the spirit tribe was. When he learned it was the Kanglin year and the spirit tribe was now just a tomb, the uncle was devastated. He realized he had been sleeping naked for 100,000 years and feared his master had perished along with the spirit tribe. He immediately jumped up, swearing to avenge his master. He tried to run off, but Zhu Wuyan chased after him, yelling that he stole his conch shell. Ed Stafford watched the two super strong beings fly away and came to a strange conclusion. He figured that starving yourself and not wearing clothes must be the secret to becoming powerful. And just like that, a weird legend about a naked wilderness man was born. On the other side of the wilderness, Chen Daorong was happily eating roasted meat. Luo Qinchen warned him to be careful, as they were close to the spirit clan's tomb, and the smell of food could attract trouble. Daorong brushed it off, complaining that Luo was already at the divine realm, so they had nothing to fear. He joked about who would dare steal their barbecue in the middle of nowhere. It turned out Chen Xuan had sent them to raid the tomb too. He had given Luo the barbecue to help her level up, which made Daorong jealous. He had begged the patriarch for a treasure, or even just a hair to remember him by. Chen Xuan eventually gave him a single hair, which was actually meant to be a weapon, but Daorong just kept it for sentimental reasons. Suddenly, a voice yelled out, begging a little brother to stop chasing him because he smelled food. Dronzer was confused about where the voice was coming from. Suddenly, the ground beneath him burst open. The naked uncle's head slammed right into Dronzer's butt. The pain was excruciating. Zhu Wuyan arrived a second later, following the scent. The two starving men saw the meat, grabbed it without saying a word, and started eating. Dronzer clutched his injured backside, screaming at the robbers for stealing his food. Zhu and the uncle looked a bit embarrassed, but they didn't stop eating. Zhu waved his war god spear to scare them off, but Dronzer managed to dodge the strike, only getting a small scratch. The intense fighting spirit from the clash shocked both of them. Zhu took the chance to run away, thanking them for the meal. Dronzer was furious and wanted to chase them, but Luo stopped him. She pointed out that if those two could escape from them so easily, they must be incredibly strong. Dronzer calmed down and realized the outside world was full of dangerous people. He felt insecure, realizing he couldn't compare to his senior sister or these strangers. He resolved to take the mission seriously and get the Spirit Clan's inheritance to prove the strength of the Xuantian Emperor clan. Meanwhile, back in the realm of high risk, a group from the Haoyu kingdom was riding male lions, searching for something. The queen was furious that they had lost the soul-eating pearl and given away the Starfall map. She ordered them to get the items back, or the kingdom was doomed. They were terrified of angering the powerful Chen Xuan, but they had no choice. As they searched, a small cat blocked their path. The lead lion simply swatted it away. The king of Haoyu kingdom was not impressed. He sarcastically clapped his hands and asked why a stray cat was worthy of playing with his noble diamond lions. But literally a second later, he regretted his arrogance. Two loud thuds shook the ground, followed by a massive roar that echoed through the sky. Two terrifying, pure-blooded shadow wolves appeared out of nowhere. It turned out the little stray cat was actually their cub. The situation was bad, but Duan Muli, the leader of the group, tried to keep calm. She ordered her diamond lions to attack, confident in their noble bloodline. However, what happened next shocked everyone. The three diamond lions instantly betrayed their masters. They crouched down in front of the shadow wolves, wagging their tails and barking like happy puppies. They were totally terrified by the wolves' power. The pressure was so intense that the king fell to his knees with a loud bang. Suddenly, a voice scolded the wolves. "Don't be rude to guests. They are guests of the patriarch. Do you want to be neutered?" The group turned to look and saw the legendary purple shadow sparrow, the world's #1 great beast, standing there with someone on its back. The terrifying wolves immediately fled like scared dogs, but what the rider said next completely shattered their worldview. "Are you looking for my master? You've got the wrong place. This desert is just my master's litter box." The king's brain stopped working. A king realm beast called this person master, and this endless desert was just a litter box? They couldn't comprehend it. When they arrived at the patriarch's actual residence, Duan Muli turned her nose up at first, saying the spiritual energy there wasn't great. But moments later, she started screaming. She had suddenly leveled up just by standing there. Old Wen grinned and explained that she had just walked through the steam from the master's sauna. The king, now totally humbled, whispered to Duan Muli that this person was way out of their league, and they should just go home. But Duan Muli refused. She argued that as the ruler of the wealthiest kingdom, she couldn't give up. But then, she looked around and burst into tears. She saw countless treasures that her kingdom treated as priceless artifacts growing like weeds. There were iceberg fruit trees, acres of legendary melting mountain water lotuses, and 9-turn golden peng fruits, all treated like garbage here. She quickly wiped her tears and adjusted her strategy. She decided that if his resources were better, she would use herself as a bargaining chip. She figured since she was the most beautiful woman in the world, she could use her charm to get what she wanted. Just then, thunder roared in the sky, and a figure appeared. They stared, dumbfounded. It was a man with a perfect physique, casually lifting a barbell. But it wasn't just any barbell. He was using the massive black thunderbolt python, a king realm beast, as a workout weight. He looked at them and said, "Weren't you the ones who saved my juniors back then? It seems I owe you a favor. Tell me what you want." The three visitors were mentally crushed. This guy was using a legendary monster for arm curls, and his looks and vibe were completely superior to the king's. Duan Muli was convinced. Getting someone this powerful to owe them a favor made them the greatest heroes in their kingdom's history. Meanwhile, back in the wilderness, Chen Daorang had tracked the Spirit Clan inheritance all the way to a specific spot. But as soon as he arrived, he found himself surrounded by people from major sects. They were annoyed that he tried to enter the tomb before them. Daorang thought his Starfall map would give him an advantage, but the place was already packed. A man flew out of the crowd and arrogantly demanded to know who these insignificant people were. He ordered them to state their names so he could rank them, adding that they should have their elders kneel and thank him. Daorang wasn't having it. He retorted, asking who they were to demand anything. The arrogant man was furious, but couldn't attack directly because of his status as an elder. So, he called on the strongest newcomer of his sect. Hanma Yujiro, an 8-year-old prodigy with a terrifying demon-back physique. Hanma Yujiro stepped forward, ready to teach these old-timers a lesson. Suddenly, Daorong noticed 2 people on the ground. It was Zhu Wuyan and the naked uncle who stole his barbecue earlier. He told his senior sister he was going to get revenge. Luo Qinshan warned him not to be rash since they didn't know how strong the duo was. This completely ignored Hanma Yujiro, which made the young prodigy furious. He screamed, "You scoundrels! Ignoring me? I'll slaughter you all with my dragon-slaying sword!" He pulled out a legendary spiritual weapon, supposedly famous even at Starbucks. The sect elders smirked, proud to show off their wealth by giving a rookie such a top-tier weapon. They cheered for Yujiro to kill the garbage. Zhu Wuyan, who had just woken up, saw Daorong and panicked. He whispered to his companion, "Oh my god, did the guy we owe money to show up? What a petty person. Can't we just eat a few legs of his?" Daorong pulled a huge stick from his pocket, yelling, "What do you mean only a few legs?" The crowd burst into laughter seeing Daorong's weapon, a broken wooden stick. Yujiro raised his sword high, mocking Daorong for using trash. He swung his sword to finish him, but suddenly the dragon-slaying sword shattered instantly. Both Yujiro and his sword were hammered away. The crowd went silent. They looked up and saw a massive stick covering the sky. It slammed down with a deafening boom. It turned out Daorong had just enlarged a tree branch and accidentally hit Yujiro while aiming for Zhu Wuyan. Daorong realized the stick's power was way beyond any top-quality artifact. Compared to this, the dragon-slaying sword was garbage. Daorong felt proud, but then everyone was shocked again. Zhu Wuyan flew out of the dust completely unharmed. He yelled, "We just ate a few legs! Was there a need for this huge commotion? Looks like I have to return the favor!" Zhu Wuyan unleashed his God of War Overlord Spear move, but everyone stared in confusion. He was holding a farming hoe. The crowd thought the number 1 sect had gone crazy. What kind of weapon was a hoe? Meanwhile, Hanma Yujiro, the strongest creature on the surface, stood up in the distance. He boasted that his ghost-back steel bone body made him tough enough to tank the damage. But just as he finished bragging, Zhu Wuyan's attack hit him. Waves of energy washed over Yujiro, sending him flying again in a spiral. He held the shattered handle of his legendary sword, silently begging his master to take him home. Above them, 4 legendary battle avatars appeared in the sky. It became clear to everyone that the humble hoe and the wooden stick were actually weapons that surpassed the highest quality gear they had ever seen. Meanwhile, Luo Qinshan was furious that the thief dared to fight back. In a fit of rage, she transformed into her great Sun Yang god body. She chanted, "Live like a flame, die like a fire, burn the heavens," and unleashed a massive flame slash. A phoenix cry echoed through the sky, terrifying everyone around. Zhu Wuyan looked at the overwhelming flames with disdain, thinking he could just dodge it. But suddenly, his eyes went blank. Ling Tong, the demon soul inside him, unexpectedly took over and froze his body in place, sneering that his mortal body would burn if touched by the divine flame. Zhu was trapped. Just as the flames were about to hit, a figure stepped forward. It was the greasy, naked uncle from before. He opened his arms and stood in front of Zhu, shouting, "Little brother, don't panic. I feel we have a destiny. Let Uncle Qingpeng block this for you." A scream echoed through the tomb as the uncle took the hit and fell from the sky. Zhu Wuyan regained control of his body and screamed, "Fatty, what are you doing?" Luo Qinshan stood proudly, declaring that this was the price of arrogance. This scene fully ignited Zhu's rage. He swore to avenge the uncle, but a second later, the dead uncle suddenly spoke up, "It's okay, I'm just sleeping here." Zhu was ecstatic but confused. "Fatty, you're not dead?" The uncle replied sleepily, "Why would I be dead? My master said as long as you sleep well, pain disappears with the dream." Before he finished speaking, the flames on his body vanished. Chen Daorong and Luo Qinshan were shocked. Luo realized her divine flame hadn't just gone out. It had disappeared mysteriously. She recognized the uncle's power as one of the ancient armors, the Sleepy Buddha battle garb. This armor allowed the user to gain cultivation just by sleeping, and provided invincible defense while asleep. The head of the number 1 sect stood there with his jaw on the floor. He realized his strongest creature disciple was nothing compared to these monsters. This revelation ignited the fighting spirit of all 4 warriors. Chen Daorong unleashed his thunder body, warning them that their ancestors would need to collect their corpses. Zhu Wuyan activated his war god battle garb, ready to see if they could withstand his moves. Luo Qinshan powered up her great Sun Yang god armor, claiming they were no match for her. And of course, the fat uncle fully activated his Sleepy Buddha armor, promising to help Zhu if they tried to bully him with numbers. The sky filled with the projections of 4 great beasts. The pressure from their clash was so intense that the people on the ground couldn't even get close. Everyone wondered what kind of monsters these newcomers were to have such top-tier gear. Hanma Yujiro, the strongest disciple, whined from the sidelines, "Master, I want to go home." Meanwhile, back at the Patriarch's palace, a shocking scene unfolded. Chen Xuan suddenly knelt in front of the Queen of Haoyue Kingdom, claiming to be a commoner at her disposal. It turned out that the great Wu nation was founded by his descendants. 10,000 years ago, Great Wu ruled the North Wilds, but it had now declined into a small country facing annexation by the powerful Great Zhou Empire. The Haiyu Kingdom was originally supported by Great Wu, which is why the queen had gone through so much trouble to find the Starfall map and the spirit race inheritance. She wanted to save Great Wu. Upon learning this, Chen Xuan triggered a system task to save the successor of Great Wu. Since he couldn't intervene directly, he came up with a clever workaround. He refused to give her the map, but instead offered himself as a servant. The queen was terrified. "Great power, what are you doing?" she asked. Chen Xuan explained, "Your Majesty, instead of you trying to protect Great Wu, why not let me become your subject and protect it directly? I created Great Wu 100,000 years ago, so I'm just protecting my own descendants." The queen was stunned but relieved. She realized Chen Xuan might be the legendary founding patriarch of Great Wu. She agreed to take him there. At the Great Wu dynasty, the situation was dire. The king of Great Zhou was choking the little princess, Wan Qing, with one hand. He demanded she surrender the power of the dragon vein. In this world, ordinary people usually had no chance against powerful cultivators. Their only defense was the Empire, which wielded the power of the dragon vein, a force that could crush even strong cultivators. However, only the Emperor could control this power, and using it cost their life force. The king of Great Zhou had mastered cultivation and wanted to combine it with the dragon vein power to become immortal. He had already lived for 1,000 years and reached the king realm. He threatened to massacre all of Great Wu if the princess refused. The ministers begged her not to give in, warning that Great Zhou would control them forever. The king of Great Zhou didn't wait. He gathered energy to finish them all. At that critical moment, Princess Wan Qing made her choice. She sacrificed her own life force to activate the dragon vein. A white divine dragon appeared in the sky, blocking the king's attack. The king laughed, mocking her. "Do you think a young dragon can defeat me?" But before he could finish his sentence, the princess unleashed the full power of the dragon, killing him instantly. However, the victory came at a terrible cost. The princess collapsed, her life force completely exhausted, on the verge of death. The ministers watched the scene with deep sadness, thinking the threat was over. But suddenly, they looked behind them in horror. "Ha ha ha, who said I was gone?" The enemy laughed maniacally. He declared himself the Dragon Slayer, personally appointed by the Great Zhou Empire. He bragged that he had collected dozens of dragon vein powers, making him nearly impossible to finish off. The ministers couldn't believe their eyes. How could anyone survive a direct hit from a dragon vein? But they didn't have time to be shocked because the enemy was already attacking again. He delivered a brutal punch to the princess, and his body started to expand with energy as he kicked her while she was down. He taunted, "Do you know the benefits of a long lifespan?" The ministers watched helplessly, screaming for him to stop. The princess's life force was already drained, and another hit would be fatal. In her final moments, the princess looked at her enemy helplessly. He shouted, "Die!" His body swelled up like he was about to self-destruct to take her out. But suddenly, a slap came out of nowhere and sent him flying. A massive explosion echoed through the sky. Chen Xuan had finally arrived just in the nick of time. The ministers looked up in disbelief. They saw the queen of Haiyu Kingdom and assumed she was the one intervening. They warned her, "Do you really think you can save Great Wu alone? Great Zhou will destroy your country if you interfere." They had no idea the man beside her was the legendary patriarch Chen Xuan. He calmly replied, "You should be worried about Great Zhou being destroyed instead." Suddenly, the ministers remembered the old legends from 10,000 years ago. Could he be that person? But Chen Xuan looked up in surprise. The enemy he had just blown to pieces was reforming again. The man laughed. "Who is this Xuantian emperor? Even the gods can't end me. I made a contract with 10,000 warriors from my country. Every time I fall, one of them takes my place. I just used one life, and now I'll use 100 to blow you all up." That explained his reckless suicide attacks. The ministers urged Chen Xuan to take the princess and run, but Chen Xuan stayed calm. He asked the queen where the enemy's country was located. When she told him it was in the northwest, he casually said he could solve the problem in 10 seconds. The enemy scoffed, "Solve me in 10 seconds? What a joke. I'm gathering the life force of 100 warriors right now to blow you sky high. Come at me." But suddenly his expression changed to pure panic. He sensed something terrifying appearing in the sky above his own country. His divine sense shot back home, and he was shocked by what he saw. A massive spiritual hand formed by the laws of nature was hovering over his kingdom. With a deafening boom, the hand slammed down. In a single instant, the entire country was wiped off the map, and tens of thousands of warriors vanished. The enemy's extra lives were gone in a flash. His divine sense returned to his body, but it was too late. He exploded for the final time. Chen Xuan raised a protective shield to block the debris. He dusted off his hands and said, "It's done. That country is gone." The citizens of Great Wu trembled in fear. They were amazed that someone could erase an entire nation so easily. The queen realized this was truly the power of the Xuantian emperor and was grateful she hadn't angered him earlier. Chen Xuan turned to her and asked for his next command. The queen, playing along with their servant arrangement, ordered him to cure Princess Wan Qing. The system was raging in Chen Xuan's head. "I give up. How do you always find a loophole? You just wiped out a country." Chen Xuan smiled and thought, "I didn't do anything directly. I was just following Her Majesty's orders." He poured out a lake's worth of Jade Spring Divine Brew and placed the injured princess, who had transformed into a dragon, into the healing liquid. But the queen warned him that even his divine wine wouldn't work. She explained that the poison dragon resentment in the princess was a curse created by the medical god for the great Zhou rulers 100,000 years ago. Once poisoned, using dragon vein power would rapidly drain the victim's life. The only cure was the divine silk holy heart needle, but the medical god took the only one to another continent ages ago. The queen cried in despair, but then she looked at Chen Xuan in shock. 9 glowing divine needles were floating around him. "How did you know there was only 1 needle left?" she asked. "Patriarch, you have the Holy Heart Needle, and you have 9 of them," Chen Xuan explained. "That so-called medical god was my student 100,000 years ago. Honestly, he was the worst student I ever taught. I had 10 needles, but he was so incompetent he only learned to use 1. And to think he used it to harm people. Next time I see him, I'm going to kick him." Everyone was stunned. The legendary medical god was just a bad student of this man? Chen Xuan used the needles on Wan Qing, gently telling her, "Don't be afraid. I am your patriarch from 100,000 years ago, and I'm going to remove this poison for you." Meanwhile, back at the Spirit Clan's tomb, Zhu Wuyan and the others were still fighting over the barbecue incident. "Is it really necessary to keep fighting over a chicken leg?" someone yelled. "Which traitor's disciples are you?" "It must be the Tightwad sect," another shouted. "Scrounging and penny pinching, so disgusting." Chen Darong couldn't take the insults anymore. "How dare you insult my patriarch? Your master is the penny pincher. Your whole sect is cheap. Idiots." Zhu Wuyan fired back. The number 1 sect watched in confusion. The fight was so fast their eyes couldn't keep up. They yelled, "Stop it! If you keep fighting, the tomb won't open and we'll all fail." Suddenly a booming voice came from the tomb. "Silence! No more insolence! I am the guardian of the Spirit Clan's tomb. I announce that anyone who reaches the depths of the tomb will receive supreme fortune. The top of the vine is the entrance. Enter at your own risk. The Spirit Clan's tomb is officially open." The 4 fighters paused, confused, but the crowd below was overjoyed. "Ha ha ha! It's finally open! We survived!" One man rushed toward the entrance, eager to be first. Hanma Yujiru, desperate to redeem his past failure, stepped forward with his dragon-slaying sword. He burned all his cultivation energy, vowing to be the first one to enter. He sped past Chen Daorang, shouting that the crazy young man was about to be surpassed, but he had no idea he was making a huge mistake. The very next second, Hanma Yujiru was struck down. Chen Daorang and Luo Qinchen stared blankly as the guardian of the tomb stood proudly over the fallen warrior. The guardian scolded everyone, asking if they had forgotten the rules. Using spiritual energy in front of the Spirit Clan was strictly forbidden. He called Yujiru a fool for not listening, lamenting that their number 1 warrior was eliminated right at the start. The onlookers were confused. The vine looked alive and dangerous. So how were they supposed to climb it without energy? The Guardian explained that the only way to pass this trial was to rely purely on physical strength. There was a catch, though. The vine secreted toxins that affected younger people more severely. That's why most groups brought only their elderly members. The older generation started climbing, promising to carry on Yujiru's will. Suddenly, there was a loud crash. Something flew past them at high speed. It was the naked fat uncle. The crowd was stunned. Why was he flying? And why did he have such a goofy expression? They yelled that flying was cheating and young people had no martial ethics. But then they noticed something strange. The vine wasn't attacking him. Was it asleep? They looked closer and realized the vine was attacking him relentlessly, but he was completely unharmed. In fact, he was snoring. The guy was enduring the attacks and climbing while fast asleep. The sleeping Buddha armor was truly amazing. This infuriated the other climbers. Combining sleeping with passing a deadly trial was just absurd. Zhu Wuyan used his war god power, and the fat guy used his absolute defense. But Daorong and Luo Qinchen didn't have those abilities. They could only watch helplessly as the others took the lead. Suddenly, a dazzling light blinded Daorong. He looked over and saw his senior sister's chest glowing. Luo Qinchen fumbled around and pulled out a scroll. It was the map given by the Haoyou Kingdom. Daorong silently gave her a thumbs up, impressed that she truly treated him like family. Just as they were marveling at the map, a vine dropped down in front of them with a swish. The Guardian put on a fake smile and invited the guests to come in. He explained that with the falling star map, they could bypass the first trial and become very important person candidates. This made them extremely happy, but a middle-aged man struggling to climb nearby started crying tears of humiliation. He complained that having very important person treatment in a trial was totally unfair. Amidst the envious stares, Luo and Daorang sat on the guest chairs formed by the vines. Daorang was thrilled, thinking he had already won, but his joy turned to tears instantly. The guardian teleported behind him and smacked him, sending him flying. "Damn, what are you doing, old man? I'm a VIP!" Daorang yelled. The guardian ignored him and flew off with Luo Qinchen toward the entrance. He explained that the map only allowed one person inside. Daorang cursed, asking why he didn't mention that earlier. The unlucky middle-aged man finally felt better, laughing that someone was having a worse time than him. With no other choice, Daorang had to climb the hard way, but as soon as he touched the vine, it hurt terribly. The poison was brutal for young people. The guardian announced that the teleportation gate would close in 100 breaths. Daorang despaired, thinking he was going to embarrass the patriarch. Suddenly, a massive surge of spiritual energy erupted from the ground. The guardian was furious. He had just explained the rules, and someone dared to release such dense energy? It was the ultimate disrespect. Without waiting, countless vines surged toward Daorang to crush him. It turned out this was a trap set by the unlucky middle-aged man to eliminate his competition. He wanted revenge for Yujiro. Daorang felt his heart sink, thinking it was the end, but then a single hair floated out from Daorang's pocket. A voice filled with divine power echoed from it. "You insolent fool, how dare you attack my junior with this worthless grass?" In the next moment, the hair unleashed an unparalleled strike. It cut the massive vine clean in half. The shockwave swept across the entire scene, leaving everyone stunned. The vine collapsed with a thunderous crash. The climbers watched in disbelief. After all their effort, the trial just collapsed? The unlucky middle-aged man wanted to cry. Even the guardian stood there helplessly, realizing the entire energy of the tomb couldn't counter that single hair. He wondered if that man was involved. Daorang stared at the hair in his hand, feeling like he held the world. He realized a single hair from his patriarch was this powerful. He scoffed at sword and blade cultivators, declaring that from now on, he was a hair cultivator. He stuck the hair directly onto his face to look cool, calling himself the handsome boy who travels with hair. The others were disgusted by his showboating, but realized that since the vines were cut, they could fly up now. They cheered and rushed toward the entrance. Only the guardian remained calm, suspecting that the spirit clan had finally found the right person. Meanwhile, back at the Great Wu Kingdom, Chen Xuan had cured Princess Wan Qing of the poison dragon resentment, but he discovered another unprecedented power inside her that couldn't be removed. The king worried again, but Chen Xuan explained that this new power was life-threatening. He demanded to know where the Great Zhou Kingdom was, suspecting they were responsible. Without hesitating, Chen Xuan flashed directly to Great Zhou's territory. He unleashed a massive palm strike with the power of laws and announced himself as the supreme heavenly emperor. He demanded the person who poisoned his descendant to come out and apologize, or he would wipe out the entire kingdom. But a calm voice answered. It struck directly at the soul. "Supreme Heavenly Emperor, even if you finish me, you won't be able to cure your descendant. Once this poison is planted, even I am powerless to stop it." Chen Xuan was instantly furious. He shouted, "Then you shall be buried together with Great Zhou." He manipulated the power of laws, covering the entire nation of Great Zhou with a massive energy field, and slammed it downwards to crush everything. Suddenly, a purple light shot out from the ground, shattering Chen Xuan's power into pieces. Chen Xuan was stunned. He had never encountered anything like this before. While he was still dazed, that calm voice spoke again. "Supreme Heavenly Emperor, it seems you haven't understood the situation. Now the person who should worry about being finished isn't me, but you, Chen Xuan." At that moment, Chen Xuan felt a chilling sensation, like he was in an endless hell. The system flashed red with a warning. "Warning, host, this creature has the power to finish you. Don't act rashly." Simultaneously, a high-difficulty mission triggered. Trial 6 had urgently opened. Success would mean proceeding to the next continent, but failure would result in catastrophic damage to both the host and the Hongmeng continent. Chen Xuan broke out in a cold sweat. "This thing can end me," he thought, "and if I fail, everyone on the continent dies?" But he reminded himself that he was the supreme heavenly emperor, invincible for 10,000 years. How could he be scared of this unknown person? He questioned directly, "Who are you? Why harm a child? Do you want to destroy this continent?" The entity was surprised by Chen Xuan's quick deduction. "Who I am doesn't matter," the voice replied. "What matters is that a new era of 10,000 years is beginning. Natural disasters will come, and I will break my seal to give you all a gift. everyone will see my true form and fear my name. Supreme Heavenly Emperor, I have a feeling you might be the only one who can stop my plan, or maybe you'll just become the scapegoat for the entire continent. Unfortunately, I can't finish you now, but I will launch an attack on the continent soon. Can you stop me? While pondering this, Chen Xuan saw a system prompt explaining that these creatures had existed since the birth of the continent. Host, do not take it lightly, it warned. This confused Chen Xuan even more. He had been around for 200,000 years, yet there were things older than him, but he quickly regained his confidence. With the system recovered, who did he have to fear? Wait until the new era? Fine, Chen Xuan declared. I will defeat you then. I look forward to our battle. Although the confrontation ended, they still hadn't found the antidote for the poison. They had no choice but to return to Great Wu for now. Back in Great Wu, the tragedy of Princess Wang Qin became clear. She was only 4 years old when she had to shoulder the heavy responsibility of protecting the country. While other kids grew up loved and pampered, she could only confide in her pet, little Qing. Covered in injuries from daily training, she was never allowed to rest. All she got were scoldings because she was the last imperial bloodline. She had to master the dragon vein power to save her endangered country, but it wasn't enough. Her only playmate, little Qing, was taken away to toughen her up. Her training got stricter, and the cost of using the dragon vein power slowly broke her body down. 3 years later, little Qing passed away from worrying too much about Wang Qin. By age 6, Wang Qin had exhausted the dragon vein power and was infected with the Great Zhou's poisonous dragon grudge. Her lifespan was nearly gone. She stared blankly at her deceased pet. Before she passed, she wanted to bury little Qing properly, but the Prime Minister rejected her request cold-heartedly. Great Zhou is attacking the palace. The people are hoping for your salvation. Even if it means death, you must save Great Wu. You exist for the country, you must. Before he could finish his lecture, the Prime Minister was instantly blown away by an explosion. Once again, Wang Qin was left alone in her grief. Suddenly, a hand grabbed her. A voice scolded, "What are you still crying about? I told you to care about the country's survival, not be indecisive like a child. No matter how scared you are, no matter how much you want freedom, it's not allowed. You are the king. You must bear everything, including sacrificing your life." Suddenly, an attack struck the person scolding her, shattering him instantly. A new voice spoke gently, "Isn't what Wang Qin has done for the country enough?" It was Patriarch Chen Xuan. He extended his hand and gently caressed her cheek. "I'm sorry, Patriarch is late, don't worry, I'm here now. From now on, Wang Qin doesn't need to fight anymore. You've worked hard." Wang Qin stared blankly at him. Her lips trembled as she finally felt cared for. Her face turned red, and she rushed into his arms, crying loudly. After letting it all out, the Patriarch carried her to bed, where she fell into a peaceful sleep for the first time in years. Chen Xuan looked out the window, deep in thought. To cure her poison, he needed the younger generation to conquer the Spirit Clan's tomb. "I wonder how those little guys are doing," he mused. Meanwhile, inside the Spirit Clan's tomb, Luo Qinshan stood alone. She called out, "Chen Daorang, are you here?" Suddenly, the fat uncle burst through the entrance. "Ha ha ha ha! I'm the first to arrive." Zhu Wuyan followed closely behind. "I'm second." But when they stopped to celebrate, they looked dumbfounded. Luo Qinshan was already standing there waiting for them. "How did you get here before us?" they asked. Luo looked at them with disdain. "Who are you talking to?" Chen Daorang soon joined them, having also passed the first test. The guardian of the tomb appeared proudly. "Congratulations on passing the first test. The next step is the second trial. Those who pass will become inheritors. To pass, you must cross the door to the center of the earth. 2 people per team, no restrictions on spiritual power, but there are only 2 winning spots. As long as 1 person in the team reaches the finish line, the whole team passes. Once 2 teams win, everyone else dies in the tomb. Friendly reminder, flying will severely drain your energy. Now, let the second trial begin." With a loud rumble, the massive door opened. Countless people rushed in, desperate to seize the opportunity. Facing such cruel rules, everyone fought like their lives depended on it. The #1 sect in the world group charged forward, shouting, "We will conquer all!" A ferocious monster with a swaying crimson tongue approached them. This only ignited their fighting spirit. They yelled, "We carry Hanma Yujiru's will with us. Even though he's gone, we live on." Blades flashed in an instant, and with a wailing cry, the monster fell. The group cheered, successfully slew the first monster. This is the strength of the greatest sect. Unlike some people, all bark and no bite. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind blew past, revealing Zhu Wuyan, Chen Daorang, and 2 others. They were bored, wondering if killing monsters was all there was to this level, and asking if there was anything stronger. Zhu Wuyan and the fatties team had already defeated over 99 beasts, and Daorang's team had done the same. They wondered who the real monsters were since they were making it look so easy. Just then, they heard a hissing sound and turned around to see a giant spider looking at them shyly. Daorang and Zhu Wuyan charged forward fearlessly, shouting, "Little spider, here I come!" One wielded a hoe and the other a tree branch as they unleashed a flurry of attacks. But in their excitement, they exposed a vulnerability. The The small spider spat out a glob of toxic phlegm, 80 years worth, hitting both of them directly. They were sent sliding across the ground for 200 meters. Luo Qinshan and the fatty rushed over, worried. They warned the pair to be careful because the phlegm was highly toxic and they couldn't move. The spider didn't give them a break and kept spewing endless webs. The fatty extended his arms, telling his buddy not to be afraid because he would help. His giant Dharma image blocked the attack in front of Zhu Wuyan, while Luo Qinshan transformed and used her great sun divine flame to burn through the webs. However, the webs kept coming, and she was soon at a disadvantage. She had to grab Daorang and dodge. To their surprise, the monster changed its form and blocked the path, trapping everyone in front of the checkpoint. They realized the monster was incredibly powerful and feared it planned to finish them all. Meanwhile, the leader of the greatest sect in the world watched from the shadows, chuckling to himself. He revealed that he also had a piece of the Starfall map. He had intentionally led the charge earlier to trick everyone into thinking they needed to kill monsters to pass. The map actually indicated that the monster couldn't be killed because it was a mirror formation. No matter how hard you hit it, you were really hitting yourself. The only way to pass was to sacrifice a team member. Upon hearing this, his teammate didn't hesitate. He declared that if he didn't go to hell, who would? He sacrificed himself instantly to open the path. A passage opened up, and the sect leader swiftly entered. It was said the Spirit Clan designed this to test the spirit of sacrifice, but if the leader passed first, everyone else would perish. Daorang and Zhu Wuyan watched helplessly, unable to understand how the leader got past the invincible monster. The fatty suddenly explained that he saw what happened. They sacrificed a team member, which seemed to be the secret. Luo Qinshan was shocked, realizing that's why the teams were pairs. Just then, the Guardian's voice announced that only 100 breaths remained. 2 teams were nearing the finish line, and once time was up, everyone else would face their doom. No matter how hard you hit it, you were really hitting yourself. The only way to pass was to sacrifice a team member. Panic set in. In the face of death, couples turned on each other, masters fought disciples, and morality collapsed completely. Even fathers and sons turned weapons on each other just for a chance to survive. Suddenly, the fatty grabbed Zhu Wuyan. He told him that, instead of both of them dying, he had a better idea. Zhu Wuyan asked what he was doing. The fatty spoke calmly for once, saying that every time he woke up from his long sleeps, he felt lonely and abandoned. But meeting Zhu felt like finding family. He offered to let Zhu go ahead. Zhu looked at him in astonishment. At the same time, Luo Qinshan helped Daorang up. She admitted there wasn't much time left and said that as his senior sister, it was her responsibility to take care of him. She told him to remember to look after the Forget Immortal sect for her once he got the inheritance. Both the fatty and Luo Qinshan had decided to sacrifice themselves. Zhu Wuyan and Daorang, dragging their injured bodies, shouted for them to stop and come back, but the two had already reached the formation. Daorang was frantic and felt helpless to stop them. In a last-ditch effort, he pulled out the strand of the patriarch's hair and silently prayed for help. To his surprise, the patriarch responded telepathically. Chen Xuan told Daorang to use his brain because there must be a solution. He warned that he wouldn't help this time and reminded Daorang that he was a descendant of the Chen family. Daorang couldn't process the advice and begged for a direct answer. He mumbled that if the patriarch had shared the grilled skewer earlier, maybe he'd be strong enough to save his sister now. Wait, the skewer? Daorang suddenly had a bright idea. He shouted for everyone to stop, claiming he had a way that didn't require sacrifice. He swore on his patriarch's name that if the fatty cooperated, both teams would pass. The fatty was skeptical, reminding Daorang that he was just chasing him for revenge moments ago. Luo Qinshan asked if he was serious. Zhu Wuyan spoke up, urging the fatty to trust him since he swore on the patriarch. Then Zhu got angry at the fatty, asking what kind of cool move dying for him was supposed to be. He declared they could just die together and be brothers in the next life. The fatty calmed down and agreed to listen. Daorang explained the plan. First, the fatty would put his defense gear on Daorang. Then, Luo Qinshan would use her divine flame to ignite the fatty. Daorang would enlarge his stick, and it would carry him and the burning fatty toward the spiderweb. The divine flame should burn a hole through the web temporarily. Before the hole closed, Zhu Wuyan would grab the other end of the stick. Once Zhu passed through the web, Daorang would enlarge the stick again and fling Zhu toward the finish line. Since Daorang was injured, he could only throw him part of the way. So after landing, Zhu had to summon his war god armor, hold the stick tight, and wait for Daorang to shrink the stick from his end. This would pull Daorang and the others across the line. Since only one person from a team needed to reach the finish line, nobody would have to be sacrificed. Despite being enemies just moments before, Daorang trusted unconditionally that Zhu Wuyan would pull him to safety. Chen Daorang explained his plan. After fighting with you just now, I felt an inexplicable trust. If we make it out alive, I want to recognize you as my junior. There were only 20 seconds left before the trial ended. Zhu Wuyan used every ounce of strength to stabilize the stick with his war god battle garb. I almost consider you my little brother. Come at me. With a swoosh, Daorang was launched by the stick, flying toward the finish line. There were only 10 seconds left. The head of the top sect was also closing in, despite having nearly depleted his spiritual energy. No one expected them to catch up at the last moment. Dorang and Zhu Wuyan, with their armors fully activated, built up unstoppable momentum. Their plan relied on pure trust. They were like grilled meat on a skewer, bound together by the stick. They knew they could only pass this fiery test if they united and fought as one. The sect leader had exhausted all his power but refused to slack off. No spiritual power? Then we run for it, he yelled. But Daorang and Zhu were filled with determination. Even injured and coughing up blood, they burned their remaining energy to push forward. We can only trust each other, Daorang shouted. That's the only way to reach the finish line in time. To the sect leader's disbelief, Daorang and Zhu crossed the line in the very last second. How did they pull that off? He gasped. The guardian of the spirit tomb announced, "Time's up. The participants who cleared Trial 2 have been determined. The trial is over. Now I will transport the winners to the finish line." Chen Daorang, well done. The fat uncle hugged Zhu Wuyan tightly. You really did it. You guys are so cool. Since the trial was complete, the losers were instantly turned into nourishment for the tomb. The others perished on the spot. Only Daorang, Zhu, Luo Qinchin, and the fat uncle remained, determined to claim the final inheritance. They were ready to face any enemy together. But the guardians smiled and said, "You don't need to fight anymore. Regarding the inheritance you desire, our Spirit Clan's Seven Saints Society will give it to you directly." In the next moment, massive amounts of energy converged on the four of them, instantly healing their injuries and boosting their strength. Chen Xuan received a system prompt. Congratulations, Hosts Junior obtained the Spirit Clan's inheritance. Trial 4 complete, rewarding Host's cultivation. Chen Xuan instantly broke through to the 8th level of the Emperor Realm and got a prize draw chance. However, Chen Xuan was worried. Did those little guys complete the mission that quickly? It feels too fast. Back at the tomb, the four continued to absorb the inheritance power. It called out, "Guardian, we have the inheritance, please let us out." But suddenly, the Spirit Clan's 7 saints intensified the transmission. An overwhelming violent force surged into them. Even the fat uncle's Arhat battle garb couldn't withstand it. "They want to end us by overloading us with energy," Darang shouted. The power gap was too great. Luo Qinchin collapsed, unable to hold on. The Guardian wore a sinister expression. "Hee, this group is quite good. They're about to become..." Suddenly, a voice boomed from the sky. "Hey, Spirit Clan old dog! Have you forgotten the first survival rule from 100,000 years ago?" The 7 saints paused. Huh? Who's speaking? The first rule? Was there such a thing? One of the saints answered, "I remember it goes like this. You can provoke Chen Xuan, but you can't provoke Chen Xuan's descendants." "Yes, that's it," another agreed. "The meaning is, if you provoke Chen Xuan, he might let it slide because he's lazy. But if you provoke his descendants, he transforms into the invincible supreme heavenly emperor and sends you to meet your ancestors." They burst into laughter. "Ha ha ha, that brings back memories." Then they realized, wait, this rule applies to the supreme heavenly emperor's people. Could it be them? A second later, a hair floated out from Daorang's body, and Chen Xuan appeared in person. "Hee, I already revealed my identity outside, yet you still didn't realize who they are?" The 7 saints were dumbfounded. Supreme Heavenly Emperor? The Guardian finally connected the dots. The power that destroyed the vines earlier came from him. So they really are his descendants? The saints immediately apologized in unison. "Sorry, Supreme Heavenly Emperor. We know you protect your own, but you don't know what we're doing. Please don't stop us." Chen Xuan looked indifferent. "Hee, I'm not here to save them. I'm here to settle the score for the hot pot seasoning incident where you chased me for 3 days and nights 100,000 years ago." And with that, this video ends. Like and subscribe for the next part.